The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It with your host, B.J. Williams.
We have a great show for you today, including a talk with Linda Haller from the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. She'll be telling us about the upcoming Western Heritage Awards. But first, Ruby Soutier and Julie Ballou would like to tell you about a cookbook you can check out at your library.
Hello, today Julie and I are here to talk about a couple of spicy cookbooks. One of them is called On the Chili Trail by Coyote Joe, and the other one is called Mexican Everyday by Rick Bayless. Now, Mexican Everyday by Rick Bayless is known in a lot of circles as the master of Mexican cooking, which I found kind of interesting because he's from Chicago, which you don't think of as being a big Mexican cooking place. But then when you read a little further, you discover that he spent a lot of time in Mexico studying the food and getting recipes from local cooks. And this book, Mexican Everyday, is different from some of his other cookbooks because he tried to meet three criteria, one of which was it shouldn't have more than 30 minutes involvement, it should taste fresh and authentic, and it should be pretty easy to make. And it's a really good cookbook, but it is not Tex-Mex cooking.
Now, the other cookbook, On the Chili Trail, does have Tex-Mex recipes. It also has Cajun recipes and New Mexican recipes. It's written as a kind of a travelogue going through chili country, includes 5 different areas. Also, all the way out to California, includes California-style cooking. But I would say this one's more of a cookbook to browse through and read, to me, more than one to cook from. It includes a lot of unusual ingredients, which would make this difficult to do without a special trip to the grocery store with a detailed list, and then might also involve trips to a specialty store to find some of the ingredients. So I would be actually pretty unlikely to cook something from this book, but it was really interesting to read and pretty to look at. On the other hand, Rick Bayless's book has a lot easier ingredients to use. He goes into the whole section at the front of the book which pictures the unusual ingredients and gives you information on where you might buy them and what they are, kind of help the cook that's not as familiar with those ingredients. You tried several of the recipes, didn't you, Ruby?
I did actually try some of the ones in the Rick Bayless cookbook. I tried a recipe for chicken where you use jalapenos and tomatillas, and I made a salsa, and I made another recipe from his book called Smoky Pork Tacos that my husband, who is not a big fan of spicy cooking, actually liked quite a lot. And one of the things that I really liked about the Bayless book was that you can use your crock pot in a lot of the recipes, which means you don't have to spend a lot of time over a hot stove. And I thought they were really good. Both of these books, On the Chili Trail by Coyote Joe and Everyday Mexican by Rick Bayless, can be found at your local library.
To celebrate Oklahoma's first 100 years as a state, the Metropolitan Library System has asked George Nye to share some fascinating stories about this great place and its people.
Like fellow Oklahoman Will Rogers, Woody Guthrie was a beacon of hope to the common people during the dark days of the Great Depression. Born in Okemah in 1912, Guthrie experienced great hardship in his early life following the death of his sister and his mother's mental illness. And while trying to make a new start in life in Pampa, Texas, Guthrie was blowed out by the great dust storms of the 1930s. He became part of the great migration of his fellow Okies, recording their lives in poetry and song along the way. Will Rogers comforted people with humor. Woody Guthrie provided a voice for the frustration and righteous anger felt by the working class in the face of poverty, exploitation, and injustice. Perhaps his greatest work was the anthem, "This Land is Your Land," which would later be sung by school children all across this country. Woody died in 1967, but he left a legacy of popular folk music carried on by scores of other musicians, most notably Bob Dylan. He is now honored each summer at the Woody Guthrie Folk Festival in Okemah and inducted posthumously into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. Woody Guthrie.
Doug Benton is with me, and it's time when we share what we have been reading.
All right. What have you been reading?
Well, I went all intellectual on everybody today. I picked up a book called Look Closer, Art Masterpieces Through the Ages. It's by Caroline Desnoyers. I'm not sure that's the pronunciation. I didn't study French. But it is a book actually for young people.
Neat.
But it's a really neat book. It is, alas, French. Most of the artists are French, and it's not really through the ages. It starts in the 14th century.
Well, for most young people, that's through the ages.
Right,
yeah.
right, since they consider people yours and my age ancient, yes. But it is a really wonderful book to get an idea of European painting. It starts with the Book of Hours from the Duc de Berry, and it has a beautiful format because it's got the complete painting over here, and then it has sort of narrows in on some of the aspects of the painting, and then you can lift it up and it has information. It talks about the colors that the artist uses and tells you a little bit about what's going on in the painting.
Now, it is in English, though.
It is in,
okay,
yes, it is in English.
Okay.
Yes, it was either written or very nicely translated into English. It goes through the ages. It has Monet and Manet and Van Gogh, and it ends with Marc Chagall. And again, each one is formatted the same way with the complete painting, and then little snippets of each one where it talks about it, which is kind of fun. Not the sort of book you want to let a really young child play with because, you know, parts of it will get ripped off. But if the child is old enough to read on his own and wants to learn a little bit more, or the parents can read to them, in the back it has a lot of text, and it's divided into each century seems to have a theme or something, and so they go through and they talk about the style of painting in the Renaissance, and then a little bit about the artist that's featured. Like this is Leonardo da Vinci, so they talk a very short biography of him and a little essay on the painting itself. So for anybody who's interested, quite frankly, I enjoyed it. And I haven't been a young adult for a long time, but it is a really nice way to get some idea of the variety of painting that is available in museums around the world, and I would highly recommend it. And again, you know, it's an expensive book, so you go to the library and you check it out.
Very good.
So, and coming up next, Jim Nimmo will be talking with Doug Benton about some of the CDs you can check out at your library.
Hey, everybody, and hello, Jim. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Hello, it's always a pleasure.
I'm always surprised when you agree to come back on to talk with me.
Well, I have very little social life, so I have nothing else to do.
Well, you brought some CDs, so we can listen to some music here.
I'm featuring American performers in this episode. We have Joshua Bell playing American music by nothing could be more American than Leonard Bernstein. He's playing a concerto, oddly enough, made up of themes from West Side Story and also the Serenade for violin and the string orchestra.
I don't know this West Side Story concerto. Who put it together?
Well, it's fairly new in the last couple of years, put together by William David Brown, who was, I guess you could say, an assistant to Leonard Bernstein, who helped him with chores like arranging and that sort of thing, and you know, the office type stuff. So we have that, and we also have Yo-Yo Ma. We talked about him in another episode, and this time he has teamed up with a bass player named Edgar Meyer, and also with Mark O'Connor, who plays fiddle. I can really say this, fiddle. He doesn't play classical music so much, but he does play the fiddle, and he is quite remarkable to listen to.
So the title again is Appalachian Journey, and is it then music from the Appalachians?
It uses the Appalachian folk style, and these are original pieces written by Edgar Meyer and Mark O'Connor, and they've got Yo-Yo Ma to help give them high class, I suppose.
Yeah,
but it's very enjoyable for people who like classical music and for people who think they don't like classical music. This exposes people, if they're interested, to a style of string playing that they might not be aware of otherwise.
Is there anything that Yo-Yo Ma hasn't recorded at this point?
No, he does everything. I mean, he's an omnivore.
I mean, he seems to be everywhere. Yeah.
Yes. He does also, he tours the world with a project he calls the Silk Road Project, which combines players from the Orient and people who play classical music in the Western tradition. And they contrast and show the similarities and how the influence of one has gone to the other.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about West Side Story. I don't know how familiar you are with the show. A lot of musicals, and it's a Broadway musical, from that era have faded, but West Side Story seems to go on forever.
Yes.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, I think the music is excellent caliber for the theater. And also, I think the story in the plot, you have the contrast of the Anglo and the
Puerto Rican.
And still in our day, we still have contrast, let's say, between the immigrants from south of the border, contrasting with people who are born in this country, and we still have this culture clash. And I think that helps keep it popular because the theme is still with us.
Okay, Jim, thanks very much. We'll see you again soon, okay?
I hope.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Doug and I are back, and Doug has obviously been reading something. It looks like it has something to do with movies.
It has everything to do with movies. It's a book called Now Playing at the Valencia. It's written by the film critic for the Washington Post. His name is Stephen Hunter, and he's also an accomplished novelist, writer of thrillers. In fact, one of his books has just been made into a movie with Mark Wahlberg called Shooter. Hunter had nothing to do with making the film, and they wouldn't even let him review it, which is probably a good thing. It's not getting the best reviews in the world. But Hunter is the second film reviewer to receive the Pulitzer Prize for film writing, Roger Ebert famously being the first. So he's very good. And what I like about Hunter is he's very conversational when you read him. These are extremely informal essays, and there's usually a great deal of humor to them, and sometimes you start reading it and it doesn't even seem like it's going to be a movie review. He goes off into some strange way. Here's the beginning of one. He says, "I don't want to write this, but they're making me." Who? You know, the usual. Them. They, the watchers in the shadows, the manipulators, the hidden persuaders. They're addressing me through my feelings and telling me, go ahead, tell everybody how good conspiracy theory is. He says, but then I'm trying to argue it's not very good. So that's the kind of approach he takes to most films. This book is divided up by genre, essentially. He's got a section on Westerns, although there haven't been that many Westerns over the last few years. He goes back and looks at some of the classics and writes about them. He's got a chapter on horror movies and one on romantic comedies and one on war stories, one on thrillers is from where that little bit comes. So, you know, any kind of movie you're interested in, you can come here. But I think the most fun of reading this book is just reading Hunter and listening to Stephen Hunter talk through his words. Now, I've seen the guy on television, and he's not that impressive to look at or to listen to, but he's a heck of a good writer. And the title, now, the Valencia was the neighborhood theater that existed where he grew up. And so he still tends to think of theaters as all of them jointly as the Valencia. So he's writing about what went on here. And I think if you're old enough to remember the concept of the neighborhood theater, that will resonate a little bit. I mean, when I was a kid, I was in a small town and there were 2 two theaters, one for the A movies and one for the B movies, you know. So just depending on what you were going to see, where you ended up here. But I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. I think I've said that. I think I've made that point fairly clear, because Hunter is a lot of fun to be with, and he's also very insightful. I mean, if you want to read it for the film criticism, he's very good, and he tends to make his prejudices clear when he reads something. He's not one of those guys that will tell you that everything is a good movie just because he likes it. He's very honest and come out and say, you know, this is really not a good movie, and unless you're like me, you don't want to spend your money to go see it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's refreshing.
Okay, Now Playing at the Valencia by Stephen Hunter. Recommended.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up next is Teens Corner with Kelly Rhea. She'll be talking with Ronna Davis about a book for our young teen readers.
Hello, and today Ronna Davis is visiting from the Edmond Library. She's a librarian there as well as a multifaceted programmer. She's brought a young adult book that's really good. It's by Avi, and it's called Strange Happenings. Hi, Ronna.
Hello, Kelly.
Tell me why you brought Strange Happenings.
I brought this because I liked the cover of the book, and it just kind of leapt out at me. I really enjoy short stories for the obvious reason that they're short and there's a lot of variety, and I think a lot of teens also enjoy short stories for the same reason, whether they're like a collection of many authors or in this case just one author whose name is Avi.
And this is about, this is fictional fantasy about transformation.
Yes, it's as about fictional fantasy as you can get, because it definitely is fantasy. The story that I'm going to particularly talk about right now is about a boy who observes his cat sitting in the sun and sleeping, and he wishes that he were a cat and then he wouldn't have to go to school.
Oh, how many of us also wish that?
Yeah, or you know, get up in the morning or anything like that. And he happens to meet up with kind of a magical cat who has his own agenda.
Oh.
I won't give it away.
Oh, I can't wait to read
Yeah.
it. Well, it sounds really good, and so there's not one story, like you said, there's many short stories.
There's several stories. They all have to do with the theme of transformation of one kind or another. And a lot of teens they're kind of going through their own transformation, and I know that many of them identify with this kind of story. So.
Exactly. Well, it says from one of the reviews that you can see online, it says, strange indeed, these tales are actually startling.
Oh yes, I was startled. You know, they have some trick endings, and I think that's where the startling part comes in. They're just, you know, basically fun, and they motivate kids are motivated by reading fun stories.
So what age is this appropriate for?
I would say beginning at about 11 or 10 even, and even going up through the mid-teenage years would enjoy this. Although it is classified as a junior fiction book, I think it has a broad appeal to it.
Excellent. It's called Strange Happenings. It's by Avi. You can find it at your local bookstore or at your favorite library.
Coming up next, MJ Vanaventer from the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum will be talking with Terry Clark from the OCU School of Journalism about a book he recently enjoyed.
Hi, Terry. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, MJ. My pleasure.
And it's nice to have you back on Read About It, and it's nice to be in the Oklahoma room of the downtown library.
It absolutely is. This is a fantastic facility. Makes you want to read.
It certainly does, all these wonderful books
Absolutely.
by Oklahoma authors.
Absolutely.
Well, you're reading Uncommon Carriers by John McPhee, and I think John McPhee is probably your favorite author.
He certainly is, of living authors at least. He's an incredibly varied person who does the kinds of things you sort of dream about doing yourself, and does it so very well with nonfiction that this is his 27th book, and I think I've pretty well read most of them.
Well, this is an incredible story about the people who work in the transportation industry. And we're not just talking cars, we're talking tugboats and towboats and big rigs and trains and canoes. And
Absolutely. This is
and it's a real story.
It's a real story. This is really a compilation of about 5 or 6 stories that appeared in the New Yorker over a series of recent years here and months, when he's spent his off time when he's not teaching at Princeton, rough life,
Yes.
to travel around the country doing what every boy really wants to do, is get up in the cab of a big rig and travel across the country, or get in the cab of a locomotive and go across the Great Plains and the mountains. And what he's done is take the people who are the real workers, the people who bring us the things we live on and live with and rely on, and follow them around the country. It's an extremely well-crafted narratives of what's going on.
And it has humor in it too.
Lots of humor. McPhee is a master of good detail, but then understatement and nice little twists throughout the thing that are just so significant to his style. What I really like about him is, I mean, he takes these people and they and their work become real. There's so much out there that we're unaware of, and it's like being opened up to many new different worlds. He takes the coal trains from Wyoming clear to the southeast part of the state, the United States. He takes this long-haul trucker hauling hazardous materials from Atlanta to Tacoma.
A man who's in love with his truck.
A man who's in love with what McPhee calls is the best-looking truck in the world. You know, it calls hazardous materials, but he keeps it spick and span. He being a canoer, McPhee, follows Thoreau's path up the Merrimack River, just to toss that in there. Oh yeah, he's really fascinating. He follows gets in the cabs of the towboats on the Illinois River going to Chicago. He goes to the UPS shipping center at Louisville, where they're shipping lobsters everywhere.
So we go all over the country.
All over the country. It's an adventure. It's like being there in the cab of that long-haul truck yourself.
Well, thank you for sharing with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We have a special guest today. Linda Haler is Director of Public Relations and Events for the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. That's a really long title.
Very long.
But it means you have to do an awful lot of work. Now, the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum has been around for a long time, hasn't it?
Opened its doors in 1965. And we changed the name in 2000.
And I'm still trying to call it the Cowboy Hall of Fame.
You and everybody else in Oklahoma.
Now, it is, I would call it a very multifaceted museum. It has saddles, and it has stunning artwork, and it has a few other things as well, doesn't it?
It does, and I'm glad to hear you say that, BJ, because so many people who maybe took a field trip back in the 70s or something to the museum and have not been back have no idea that this is a world-class museum. It has tripled in size. What you saw back then was some artwork. It was too small a museum, about 70,000 square feet, to get out our collections. We have 9 galleries now, an Old West town, a children's building. We even have some gorgeous artwork out in the gardens. So the people who haven't been back in a long time are really missing out. We have international visitors who specifically come to see us, and it's very difficult to get anybody in your own community to come back.
Well, that's often the way, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Now, besides being a world-class museum, you also have some really exciting events that happen every year, and the one you're here to specifically talk about is the Western Heritage Awards.
That's correct. The Western Heritage Awards was established by the Board of Trustees back in 1961, and they held their very first awards ceremony, believe it or not, at the Skirvin. So this is kind of a special year for us to have the Skirvin back open again, even though we don't have the awards down there. We have a beautiful event center where we hold them.
And what exactly are the Western Heritage Awards?
The Western Heritage Awards were established by the trustees to encourage creatives in literature, music, film, television to keep telling those great stories of the West. And we have about 14 categories.
Now, do people enter things, or does the museum seek out entries for this in all those categories?
Both. We seek out entries. The people who really know these awards, it's kind of considered the Oscars of the Western genre, and so those publishing companies, film studios, et cetera, who know this award and how prestigious it is, just covet that Wrangler bronze that they want to win.
Yeah. And now there are judges to make selections in all of these categories as well, I assume.
You mentioned MJ Vandeventer, who was on earlier. MJ handles all the literary entries, and I handle all the film and television and music entries. And then we each find our own judges. There are 3 judges per category. Those judges make a selection, and then we call them and tell them who won.
And I assume that they're kind of excited about that, aren't they?
Oh my gosh. The minute the winners are all known, my telephone, well, I call and let everybody know, and then the fun begins. Because I get emails and telephone calls regularly from about January until the awards in April. What do I wear? What's Oklahoma like? Because most of these are out of town visitors. So it's kind of a neat thing to be able to bring people into the state and introduce them to Oklahoma also.
Well, I have a lot of fun because you all have been kind enough to let me come out and interview most of the literary winners every year, and I'm well aware that these people come from all over the country who have written about the West. Since the West takes in anything west of the Mississippi, there are a lot of entries, I'm sure, every year.
There are, and you know, it's interesting because the literature entries keep getting bigger. I think we had like 48 novel entries this year and 28 nonfictions. That's huge when you think about it today, when the film has gone kind of downhill.
We have just a couple of minutes, and I know that there are a lot of companies and organizations that help out. This is a big, expensive event. If you would like to briefly name the sponsors of the Western Heritage Awards.
We have now, Technon Bank of Oklahoma has become a great underwriter for the event, HCM Investments, Wrangler, and then we have partners that have backed us all along, and that's Devon Energy and Chesapeake Energy and the E.L. and Thelma Gaylord Foundation, Yellow Book USA, and the Oklahoman, definitely.
Of course. Now, can anybody attend the banquet and the seminars that you have?
They can, but they better hurry. We're slamming the walls this year. This is the biggest attendance ever.
Okay, but they can contact you. I think we have a phone number and a website where people can find out more about it and sign up for it. There is a fee to attend, but as I said, there are seminars and then a wonderful banquet where some really neat people show up.
Oh, you bet.
And it's a fun event. I enjoy it very much.
We're glad to have you every year. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for telling us about it, Linda. We really appreciate it, and we hope that a few more people can squeeze in who've heard about it today.
I do too.
We've had Linda Haler telling us about the Western Heritage Awards at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. I hope you'll be able to attend, and thank you for being with us. We'll see you again next time.